What is up, guys? Welcome back to CageChat MMA. We are here for the UFC Vegas 29 preview. Of course, we've got Dan Ige going up against the Korean Zombie, of course, in what is going to be what I believe is going to be a fantastic featherweight bout. I don't see this one going the distance at all. But as we know, Korean Zombie and Dan Ige both bring, a lot of power, a lot of explosive athleticism, and we can see either one of these getting a knockout. And both of these have had tremendous highlights. Of course, Dan Ige's one being more recently, of course, when he beat Gavin Tucker inside 22 seconds back in March, of course. That was a fantastic right cross. If you remember, it was just, I think it was just a one-punch knockout. I don't remember there being a lead hand going into the right hand. Gavin Tucker just came in and Dan Ige timed it to perfection. But before that, obviously, he lost to Calvin Kattar, which was a 5-round decision. Of course, that one, it didn't really set him back, but it showed the levels of the featherweight division at that moment in time. Calvin Kattar was a little bit ahead, obviously. Styles do make fights, so it can be a little bit touch and go in terms of the featherweight division. Sometimes you get a 5-round war, sometimes you get a 1 or 2, 3-round decimation. Just how the sport goes. But obviously, that loss to Calvin Kattar set him back a couple ranks, but he came back in dominant fashion. Since then, Calvin Kattar obviously went on to fight Max Holloway, and then Max Holloway even then showed there's even more levels to this featherweight division with that 5-round decimation of Calvin Kattar. So swings and circles, or swings and roundabouts in this featherweight division. So it can go either way for Korean Zombie. It came off the back of that loss to Brian Ortega, again, ended of 2020 back in October. Again, that was something that was quite heavily in favour of Brian Ortega, who was returning, of course, after a year or two. These two, Brian Ortega and Korean Zombie, that is, had a lot of back and forth with fights being rescheduled and rebooked, etc., due to COVID and injuries, I believe, on both sides. Now, of course, Brian Ortega, coach on The Ultimate Fighter, currently is going on to fight Alex Volkanovski for the featherweight title off the back of that performance. So tonight for Danny Ige, it could be, with an impressive first round, second round KO, or a convincing 60-45 where he's dominated the whole fight. Danny Ige could certainly book himself a title bout, and if not, I know Max Holloway is withdrawn from that fight against Yair Rodriguez on the July 17th due to injury, I believe. But if Dan Ige gets a quick night in the office, or if either Brian Ortega gets, the Korean Zombie gets a quick night in the office, either of those could easily put their hands up against Yair Rodriguez and say, I want that fight, I'll take that card as well. And, who wouldn't want to see Korean Zombie versus Yair Rodriguez too? Obviously, we all know how that fight went back in 2018, knockout of the year from Yair Rodriguez, with that last second elbow in a card and a fight that many thought Korean Zombie was winning on paper. But of course, Yair Rodriguez stopped the judges getting involved. I'm sure if Jung wins tonight, he'd want to run that one back, of course. And there's no better way of getting a knockout win over Dan Ige, a quick night in the office, and then really pull it on him. For Yair to say, let's get this fight done. Obviously, Yair probably wants Max Holloway, he's the current number one contender. But, depending on how long Max is out for, if he fights in, say, November, December time, the winner tonight could easily say, it all depends on what happens at the title fight tonight. And, Yair Rodriguez, if that Max Holloway fight with Yair Rodriguez does get pushed back, and that's the two that are fighting, that's going to get pushed back till December. Alex Volkanovski and Brian Ortega, if they get a quick win, they might be able to say, right, let's have a Danny Ige, let's have a Korean Zombie tonight. If they fight, I think it's rumoured they're fighting in August, September. So their comeback's probably going to be, January, March maybe, as we lose camera. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see just how tonight plays out the rest of the featherweight division. Obviously, Danny Ige has come out and said he's prepared for the apocalypse, as he's calling it, with the Korean Zombie. And he said, tonight could be his way to a title fight, and you could see that taking place. And 50k is very powerful, isn't he? As we lose camera again, sorry, Wi-Fi is going on a bit. Away the camera, and my backup is set up runs Wi-Fi. But yes, Korean Zombie, Danny Ige, let us know your predictions in the comments down below as well. We are having a couple technical issues, but let's have a look at the tier table, of course. As you can see, we've got Korean Zombie on 16 and 6, 15 and 3 there for Danny Ige, of course. And we do have both of them 5'7", both came in on weight at 145. the reach of Dan Ige is a little less than Korean Zombie, only by 1 inch, of course. And obviously he's got a half an inch leg reach advantage there as well, the Korean Zombie. So nothing too disadvantaged from either camps here. It's going to be an even playing field, I think. I do think and believe it's going to be an even fight from the two. So yes, let us know what your thoughts are in below. And I do apologise for the small technical issues we are having right now. Yeah, let's have a quick look at the rankings, of course, as well. We have got, of course, Alex Volkanovski as a champion, Max Holloway number 1 contender, Brian Ortega. As we know, Alex Volkanovski and him are coaching the Ultimate Fighter at the moment. Well, that's been wrapped up and they're probably in camps for their title fights. And it's playing out quite nicely, the Ultimate Fighter, of course. But those are the two competitors for the title, of course. Many thought Max Holloway would get the next shot, but he chose to fight Yair Rodriguez. That is going to get pushed back probably till September now, I imagine, August, September time, depending on the seriousness of the injury for Max Holloway. It is unlikely to pull out of fights, isn't it? Obviously, we've got Korean Zombie down in 4th, Dan Ige is in 8th, so winning that would push him up against, into that top 4, and, above Kevin Cater, who put a win on Danny, or has got a win over Dan Ige. So obviously, you've got Cater probably up against the likes of Arnold Allen, you've got Josh Emmett in there. Ige Chikadze's put himself into the top 10 after a phenomenal couple of performances for himself. Edson Barboza's, of course, coming off a good win, and obviously got Arnold Allen there as well. Josh Emmett isn't cleared yet to fight after that war with Shane Burgos, so Josh Emmett is really the one that is going to be out until probably 2022, January, February time, once he gets cleared to fight with those injuries. But yes, I'm buzzing for tonight. Obviously, tonight's card on paper isn't the greatest, but sometimes those ones that aren't your money fights, you could say, on paper, bring us some of the best results. We've got some quality fights on here. We've got Alexei Oleinik versus Sergey Spivak as a co-main event. Of course, Alexei Oleinik, an outrageous amount of fights. This is his 76th professional bout. Potentially his last. There was many thinking that he was going to retire back in May when he put a post up on social media with his gloves. And obviously he's coming off 2 losses, Derek Lewis and Chris DeKaus. We are struggling now with latency issues here. Give me 2 seconds. Apologies about this. That should sort it out. Apologies about this. Right, hopefully I'm back. But yes, Alexei Oleinik coming into his 75th professional fight up against Sergey Spivak, who's coming off the back of a good 2 wins against Carlos Felipe and Jared Van Der Rohe. But as you mentioned there, a lot of people thought Alexei Oleinik, who's now 43 for another 6 days, they'd come up to his 40th birthday. And you can see the age is getting to him, especially in his last 2 performances. That one against Chris DeKaus was a standing TKO, but he has got that ability to get a win inside him, hasn't he? The Ezekiel choke, which he's become famous for. He's a submission specialist, so if they could get this fight down to the ground with Spivak, it could really change the outcome of this fight. The Sergey Spivak one, he's got coming off a couple, again, solid good wins, majority decision, and a round 2 ground and pound back in this February 2021 against Jared Van Der Rohe, was having his first professional bout, first official bout in the UFC after coming through the Contender Series. If you remember, Van Der Rohe called out Spivak, and it didn't quite go his way, but obviously Van Der Rohe has come back and got that win, that first UFC win under his belt now. For the rest of the card, Marlon Vera versus David Grant is the fight that everyone, I think, minus the main event, is looking forward to. Everyone that's looking toward this fight is excited to this one, and within reason as well. David Grant's coming on. He's finally coming on the radar within the UK at least, and as a more global prospect, he's coming on his way with two fantastic wins in a 3-fight win streak. Left hook and the other hand left against Martin Day and Jonathan Martinez. He's put himself in good stead to target a top 15 bantamweight. A top 15 bantamweight that he's already beaten Chito there. Obviously, Chito there is coming off that loss to Jose Aldo, of course, decision loss back in 2020. He beat Sean O'Malley, of course. So he's actually lost 2 in his last 3. That one against Sean O'Malley with the calf kick and the TKO. A legitimate win. Let's not take it away from what Chito there had done that night. He very much deserves to be called a winner in that fight, of course. But Daly Grant, he's coming out of SBG Manchester, so there's a little bit, I don't want to say bias, but there's a favouritism maybe. Daly Grant, see him get the work done. Obviously, you see Leon Edwards against Nate Diaz last week. We're seeing Darren Till is fighting Derek Brunson. Hopefully that date's to be announced soon. So we're seeing this golden patch of British MMA. You've got Brendan Loughnane doing his thing over in PFL as well. And Daly Grant, someone who's bubbling underneath the surface. And if he finishes Chito there tonight, he puts himself into that next category, that next level, and to be a top 15 bantamweight in a division which I believe is the best in MMA as a whole, not just UFC. I think maybe not the most elite talent, but the talent pool is so much closer and so much tighter. You could really see anyone beating anyone in that division, and the fights that we're seeing in that division are always fights that succeed and give us MMA fans what we want in a fight. They never fail to deliver in that aspect, and I don't expect tonight to be any different. I think Daly Grant's going to come out. He's going to be confident, having already beaten Chito there. Chito there is going to come out, of course. We know what he's like. He's very fiery and very aggressive in his style, and he can come out and really hurt an opponent. And he's going to want to get this one back against Daly Grant, of course, and defend his position in the top 15 in that bantamweight division. Obviously, that Jose Aldo fight was not a step too far for him. You could definitely see him winning it on a different night. But Jose Aldo showed why he's one of the greatest of all time, and why he was, the underground, why he was so feared, in the featherweight division. He's come down into bantamweight and with relative success carried that over. Obviously, he fought Petr Yan, but obviously Petr Yan is in a different stage of his career to what Jose Aldo is. With all due respect to Aldo, of course. So, 18-7-1 against 11-4. Again, this probably is going to be fight tonight, I reckon, both of these, or at least one of these, at the very minimum. Walks away with 50k, both of them eyeing for that bonus, you'd imagine, tonight. And probably you see Dan Ige or Quinn Zombie getting a bonus too. Obviously, Julian Rosa versus Seung Woo Choi, of course. 25-8 against 9-3-0. That's in the featherweight division as well. You've got Wellington Turman against Bruno Stel, the 2 Brazilians going at it in the middleweight division. Now, this one is opening the card, but it's Diego Lima versus Matt Brown. Of course, everyone knows Matt Brown. That elbow knockout has been doing the rounds on Twitter at the moment and social media as a whole. Fantastic elbow, fantastic knockout. But he's coming off the back of 2 losses there. Obviously, he fought Carlos Condit back in January on the first card on ABC. Close decision loss, but it wasn't a robbery or a loss that many thought Matt Brown had won. I think the unanimous with the judges. I think everyone was with Carlos Condit, and obviously before that he lost to Miguel Beza in round 2. They were a left hook TKO. Before that he'd beat Diego Sanchez and Ben Saunders, and he's still got quite a bit of gas left in that tank. He's 40 years of age. He's called the Immortal for a reason. He's showing that at the moment, isn't he? And Diego Lima's in a bit of a tough spot himself. 15-8, coming off that loss to Bilal Muhammad back at UFC 258. Before that, he'd had a 3-fight win streak. So he is someone who goes on these stints of winning 2 or 3 and then loses the next 2 or 3. He can never really build himself enough enough building bricks to go into that top 15, that top 10 of that welterweight division, which is again another stacked division in the UFC. Obviously, Douglas Lima, his brother, just lost the Bellator title last week at Bellator 260. So it's an interesting one. He needs to get back to a win, and beating a big name in Matt Brown does wonders for Diego Lima, of course. It'd just be interesting to see, if Matt Brown gets a win, where he goes from there. There's a lot of talk about the likes of Nick Diaz, Dan Hardy, Donald Cerrone, the upper echelon, the legend of this game, in that division at least. I know a lot of people have been talking about maybe a Legends League or a Legends Division where you can just go in there as and when you please. You could say those those names that we've mentioned previously, just go in there and fight, whether they're rather than being used as bait to the up and comers to build a name off, you could say. In the prelims, we've got a 12 fight card tonight, and it seems it seems like a lot of fights tonight, even though it's a normal amount. I guess because of the earlier start time, it feels like it's going longer. Obviously, it starts right now, actually, the prelims. But you got Nick Negumereanu from Romania up against Alexa Kimura in the 205-pound division. You got Vander Jandarova against Kanako Murata in the strawweight division, of course. Matt Semmelsberger versus Chaos Williams. This one could be a potential performance of the night if Chaos Williams gets a knockout. He's coming off the back of a loss, I believe. Let me just double check. I believe he lost his last fight anyway. The other side here, of course, against Mika Pereira, that unanimous decision loss. But if you remember before that, the one against Abdul Razak Al Hassan, he stared him down right as he got into the cage. Literally spent every second of that walkout that Hassan, and every step that Al Hassan took, Chaos was right there in his face. And he won that fight in spectacular fashion. And you could see something similar tonight. He's got the knockout power of that win against Alex Morono. Again, another finish. He's got a finish against Bojan. He's got submission wins on his record. So he's someone to look out for tonight as someone who to put money on getting a 50k bonus. Josh Parisian against Roque Martinez. Hakim Silva against Ricky Glenn. And Laura Procopio versus Casey O'Neill. Now, of course, Casey O'Neill undefeated 6-0 against Procopio 7-1. They're opening the card tonight. But Casey O'Neill, bit of an international prodigy now, I guess you could say. She's from Scotland, but she went over to Australia to train. Spent a lot of time in Australia. She's spent a lot of time at Tiger Muay Thai, but of course she's now at Extreme Couture in Vegas. She's been there a little while now, but of course she made her UFC debut beginning of this year, back in February, of course, and she won that by ground pound against Shayna Dobson. But last year she was at UAE Warriors. She's at Eternal MMA, impressing, and she's come up to a 6-9 tonight. It's a good proposition for her. And Lara Procopio, someone who's very experienced in this game. She's beat Molly Buchanan in the last fight, unanimous decision. Based going off yesterday, Molly Buchanan versus Casey O'Neill would be a fantastic fight. England versus Scotland. I always wanted to see Molly Buchanan versus Joanne Calderwood for that same reason. Of course, same division, of course. Procopio before that lost to Cara Rosa via split decision, so she's a very game opponent for Casey O'Neill. And if Casey O'Neill gets a win tonight, she's on her way. And you can see her on Twitter every time a flyweight fight's going. You're just putting the eyes out, letting people know that she's there and that she's ready for anyone and everyone and anyone to step up, really. And it's an interesting one to open the card with, and it's gonna be a fun fight. Of course, I don't see it going to the full 15 minutes. I think we're going to be in for a quick night for the first card, or the first fight on the card, and probably the last fight on the card are both going to be quick nights. I'd say within 2 rounds maybe for both of them, but especially that main event, I would say within 3. And I'm going to go with Dan Ige to get the win tonight. I think he's sorted himself out. I think he's ready to show that he belongs in that top 5. Obviously, we've got Zabit maybe coming back. We don't know what's the issue with Zabit. Obviously, there's some medical issues outside. He needs to get with first, and maybe that could mean the retirement. It was a bit like Hamzat Chimaev when Hamzat Chimaev came out and said he was retiring due to the medical issues that he had with COVID. Now, I believe Zabit's not COVID related. It's is his own problem, and obviously we hope that he gets better soon, and hopefully he can have a full recovery, because obviously he's an elite fighter and top 5, top 6, and there's some fantastic matchups out there for him to have. But yeah, I think Dan Ige gets the win tonight. I think Korean Zombie, it'd be interesting to see where he goes from that, because he is a legend of this sport. We're going to play in your head on repeat for the next 2, 3, 4 hours until it starts blaring out. It's a shame that there's no fans in attendance in the Apex to hear it being blared out, because it's a fantastic walkout song. Obviously, Peter Keeley from Bellator, obviously makes that his song. And if you see the clip of them walking out, I believe in Dublin, it could be Belfast, but I believe it's Dublin. If you hear him walking out into that crowd, it's absolutely phenomenal, and it puts hairs on the back of your chest, on the back of your neck, of course, and gives you absolute goosebumps every time you hear it. So it is a shame on that aspect. There's going to be no one in the crowd at least chanting once the Korean Zombie makes the walk. But once he does make the walk and Dan Ige steps in the cage, we are in for an absolute barrage of violence, and it's going to be absolutely phenomenal. But I'm going to leave it there, guys, because the card is getting underway. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, of course. Make sure to follow us on CageChat MMA on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, of course. And I will see you guys on Monday for the recap.